All right. Good morning, good afternoon. How are you guys doing? Hey, I know, again, I'm popping in here just to do this impromptu kind of show, but I get questions, and I feel like rather than kind of typing them out and answering them that way, it's a lot easier for me to do a quick video. This might not be so quick. I don't know. I'm going to address some questions about shelf life, paper making, the length and the quality of paper and things like that. I'm going to jump over here real quick though first and see if I can't get some people in here if they want to watch this. Pot paper. How old is too old? That's kind of the topic today. How old is too old? Oh, there I am. I'm already talking. Kill that down there in just a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some different paper here. Believe it or not, I have paper that's a year old, over a year old. Some pot paper that's over a year old. And I also have some that we just made last week, or I just made last week. So I'm going to show you. We're actually going to print some out, and I'm going to show you what the difference is and what you might expect to see quality-wise, and what it really looks like. Actually, my graphics off there just a little bit, but that's okay. Hey, hi Linda. Hey G McGee. Yeah, watch later. That's no problem. I'm hoping another thing too is I'm hoping to get better resolution on these videos. So welcome. We're going to do some pot paper. How old is too old? That's a great question, right? We're going to take you in the dark room too. I'm going to show you actually print some out. I have a couple of pieces of paper. One is on the what we poured last week. One is on the fine art burrito paper, and the other one is on the Canson. This stuff here, the burrito inkjet paper, which is great paper. I love it. Some people even like to make the image, fix it, and not tone it. I don't know that I'm going to tone these today, but we're going to do a beer bottle and Mayday tree print, and some old bottles on another piece. I just want to make sure I have enough battery here to do all this stuff on my laptop, so I'm kind of letting it charge back up here as we sit and wait for this. I am convinced, without doubt, if you have paper safes and you make this paper, this Collodio-Chloride pot paper, used to be, let's just talk about a quick history on this. Chicago Albumin Works made it for a long time. The last box I got of this pot paper was out of Rotterdam, in probably 2009, 2010 maybe. It was the last paper they made. Then Kent Mere in the UK picked it up, and I don't know if they produced it for a while or not, but in the end it went away. And I've had a couple of people reply on Instagram, ask, did you make that pot paper? I got an email, and then somebody asked, do you make your own pot paper? And I said, yeah, check this video out, blah, blah, blah. And so what I encourage people to do is read a little bit of history about the Collodio-Chloride, or the pot paper, the gelatin pot, the Collodio. They're both aristotypes, right? Collodion aristotype, gelatin aristotype, they're basically the same thing. And that's what I've spent the last few videos on, because there's been a lot of interest in it, and people, and I encourage that, because I think most people can do this quite easily. But there has been a lot of interest in it, which I'm happy about. But we kind of forget the first things first in that order. Learn how to make the negative. And again, reiterating this, the pot paper here is quite forgiving. You can, in other words, you can have a bright ambrotype that prints quite well on this paper, versus a more dense negative, like needed for an albumin or a salt print, things like that. Wash times are a lot shorter because you've got that nitrocellulose in the paper. It doesn't embed in the paper like salt prints and albumin. Well, albumin has the egg white on it, but there's a lot of advantages using this paper, and it's super, super beautiful. Today I wanted to talk to you about making this paper and then storing it, and it's beautiful, and it's got a long shelf life. A couple of questions that I got over the last few days is, if I make some of this up, how long is it good in the bottle, and how long is it good on the paper? And we're going to address the second part of that, showing you the paper in the bottle. If you use a sealed, well sealed, I like to use my old collodion bottles because they'll have a plastic pop top, they're metal, they're light tight, and they seal down really well. If you use an old collodion bottle and you seal it up and you store it in a 70-degree, 22 degrees Celsius, between 15 degrees Celsius, 55 Fahrenheit, and 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 21, 22 degrees Celsius, in a nice, it's light tight, sealed, in that cool of environment. I mean, months. You can use it for months and months. Paper. When you pour your paper, you let it dry thoroughly, and if you have paper safes in the same environment, relatively low humidity, quite cool, you're going to see paper today that's over a year old, and we'll use it. It may not look so great when we first pull it out compared to the new stuff, but I'll show you a print on it. It's quite amazing, actually. So, having said that, we're at 71% on my battery. I think I feel pretty good about that. We can jump on in and start this little show. We're going to print on the Ryonet today. I'm going to go 8 minutes. We'll see where we're at. We'll talk about some of the quality problems with older paper and look at versus the newer paper and see what you think. So let's go into the darkroom. Always nice to have a little bit of coffee in the morning. Doing this. We can do this in the nice white overhead light. Here we are back here. My contact printer. I'll show you the negatives we're going to print. Actually, I need 2 contact printers, which I'll get. We're going to print this one on the new paper, well, we just poured last week. And we're going to print this one on the old, over a year old collodion paper. But first, so I have paper safes like this. This is a paper safe, right? So here's the very over a year old Collodio-Chloride paper right there. And here's a sheet of our new stuff we just poured last week. I'll show it to you here. I have 1114 paper and 8x10 paper safe boxes. Here's our old collodion paper. Looks terrible. I'm going to cut off these corners, these folded edges. Kind of even hard to get under my guillotine chopper here. I'm going to cut these off just so I don't have to deal with them. First off, and you can do this even on new paper too if you don't want to deal with those edges. And I'm just going to make sure, yeah, I got a good fit there. So I got a good fit on that paper there. Actually, I'm going to cut that down just a little more. Cut this off. I don't know. Something right in there ought to work fine. So again, over a year old this paper is. Yeah, that looks good. Emulsion to emulsion, right? So emulsion side to emulsion side on your paper there. This is quite a dense negative, so either side doesn't really matter. I'll be able to see what's going on. Mount that in there, and then we'll go out to the Ryonet and get these started. So there's our year and 3 month old Collodio-Chloride paper there. And our contact printer. Let me grab another contact printer here. Let's go ahead. Collodion's breaking off of that old paper. Let's go ahead and cut the corners off of this too, just to have it. I give myself an inch, so I have a little liberty there. Just makes it nicer to be able to work with it in the contact printer. You don't get that raised edge on it. So there's our paper we just poured. What? I don't know how long ago it was. A week? I don't know. I lose track of time. Emulsion side up. This contact printer happens to be split even, 50-50 kind of stuff. So I just center the paper on this one. Emulsion side. Just want to make sure. Yeah, emulsion side. Kind of hard to tell. You do a good varnish job, it's hard to tell which side your emulsion side is. Kind of get it squared up there so it looks halfway decent here. Not printed all askew. Printed out all askew. There we go. Something like that. We'll be able to look at both sides on that. Our glass should be clean enough. Put our printing frame over that. Maybe. Huh. Let me try that again. Sometimes they bend funny and these backs are get a little out of whack. Nice and clean. Make sure your stuff's nice and clean. Oh, it might be the glass. It's giving me the, yeah, it's the back that's bending and the glass is getting a little askew there. That's okay, we'll get it this time. So all different styles on these contact printers. Backs spin down like that, spin it down like that. So there that one is. So we have 1.5 or 1 year and 3 months and brand new paper. Let's go out and put them in the Rhinonet screen printer, UV printer here. I'd use the sun, but we don't have much sun today. And I actually, like I said the other day, I like to have the control on this printer side of things. I'm going to set you right here. Yeah, oh, there you go. You can see that quite well. So here's our Rhinonet. Looks good. Looks good. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that is Hahnemühle burrito paper, that old stuff. And I'm going to start with 8 minutes. So there we go. We have 8 minutes to chat now. And drink our coffee and water. If you have coffee and water. If you don't, drink whatever you have. I'm going to plug you back in here. That only took a few percent down. So, there we go. We have the old pot paper in the Rhinonet with the new stuff we just poured. And I say, man, if you're within a couple of weeks and you got a paper safe and a good, temperature and humidity is important. That's a caveat I need to put on that. But if you want to make your solution up, pour a bunch of paper, hang it, let it dry, and put it in a paper safe, and just be able to pull it out like I just did, slap a negative on it and print it out. Best way to go. I love it. Works super, super great. And man, a couple of weeks, a month even in that environment, you'll be perfectly fine. So, one of the things I really, I'm going to segue away from the printing out right now for just a second. One of the things I think we should have a discussion about sometime on one of these videos, one of these get-togethers actually, where we're planned, like a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever. And the next one is Sunday, by the way. Yeah, Sunday morning, by the way. We're going to do the chemistry. We're going to talk about safety and handling. But one of the areas I think we should probably talk about is the conceptual end of how we use and why we use collodion, how we're using the process and why we're using the process. And have a discussion about that. And have a discussion. I mean, technical's great. Don't get me wrong. I love to geek out about this stuff. It's wonderful. But for me, it has a little more a purpose or a reason, meaning for behind it. Like, why am I using this? And for those of you that have looked at my work or read my books or heard me ramble on these videos, you know that I am a firm believer in purpose and reason for using a certain process, even a certain format, and being able to talk about that, right? And so I find myself in conversations with people, usually personally, but I think it'd be great if we could have a discussion in here sometime about the purpose of why we use collodion. Is it are we process photographers, or are we more purpose driven? Like, is the materials do the materials mean something to the work? Does the process in the context of history mean something to the work? You know, the more conceptual stuff versus the technical stuff. And I know, I get it. I mean, I get it. People love beautiful, interesting photographs, and that is perfectly fine. That is wonderful. And you look at the old art for art's sake in the 19th century. You know, they made images. They made art for art's sake. There was no concept. A beautiful vase well lit is a beautiful vase well lit, flowers or whatever it was, right? It's art for art's sake. And if you watch movies, you'll see that MGM, that lion. If you look at in Latin above that lion, where the lion comes out and roars at you, it'll in Latin it says art for art's sake. So definitely something that's perfectly fine, but I'd like to have a deeper conversation about people that find they're drawn to more conceptual kind of things. And I'm not talking, don't swing me over either way here. I'm not talking about, you know, lusciously gray and, you know, this ephemeral nature and getting all artsy fartsy stuff going on. I'm not talking about that. That's another different kind of cover for you know, kind of intimidating people, really, in a way. I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, I don't go to art galleries, I'm not sophisticated enough. And it's like, wow, that's really bizarre to me, because as a human being and as a storyteller and people that have questions about the world we live in and why things work the way they work, art is such a wonderful way to get those ideas out and to open up discussions, really, right? That's kind of, at the end, that's what it's about. And again, nothing wrong with making beautiful photographs and saying that's just a beautiful photograph. I made it because this process is cool, or look at it, it's just gorgeous, or, you know, whatever it is, that's fine. But having a deeper conversation about purpose and driving toward an idea or a story or some kind of narrative in a larger body of work, maybe even, that's kind of, you know, and maybe it's my photojournalism background that's kind of brought all that out in me. I don't know, but I find it, I'm not talking about truth with a capital T. I'm talking about my truth or my kind of ideas about certain topics. And I've always worked in the area of concern with marginalized communities, right? People who are pushed to the margins, and how we treat people the way we treat them and why we do that. And I think I mentioned a couple of times ago, or last time or time before that, the Ernest Becker book is a very great discussion to have. The denial of death and our anxiety about knowing about our impending death. We're the only kind of creatures waddling around here that have that knowledge. And it does funny things to us, and makes us treat and act and perpetrate things on people that are quite disturbing. I mean, that's my opinion. You know, that's so. Maybe someday we can have that have a non-technical get-together, a get-together where we talk about why we make the photographs we make, and share some of those ideas and give some of those reasons. Why do we use wet plate collodion? It garners a lot of attention. It really does, especially in a world where everything is digital and you know, It used to be that you could buy your way into it. Digital cameras aren't even that expensive anymore for really quality stuff. So it's a really interesting topic to me, talking about why photographers still make photographs, or why we make photographs, or do we even call ourselves photographers or artists, or all those things. It's a great topic, and it's not to raise, get in fights. And I don't do online arguments. I don't do any of that stuff. It's political or otherwise, art. I don't do any of those. But I do like to come together and have discussions about why people make the work they do, and kind of we can challenge one another without being offensive or getting defensive. Our light is still going. We're still printing out. So I'm going to keep my eye on that for a minute. And so think about that. If you're interested in that, we can do that. If you're not interested in that, you can watch a few of us have those discussions. I think I want to do that, and I think I can get some people interested in it. So let's see where we're at. We'll take a quick view here of. Let's see. Let me see where we're. Whoop. I don't want to cut you guys off here. So, back to the paper. We have that year-old pot paper. We have that new stuff that we just poured. I think it was on the 15th. So that's only a few days old. It's the 19th today. That's only a few days old. And we're going to do a side-by-side kind of printing out. Now the negatives are a little different. The one I'm using for the old paper is quite dense. I have a D-max in there of over 2. I think it was 2.1. And the bottle with a Mayday in it, the thinner negative, which is almost a bright ambrotype actually, we're only in the 1.617 range on the bottle side of the bottle. So when we pull these out, you may see, we're finished. You may see striking. Actually, you know what? Let me just go over and grab them. I'll bring them right back. Let me plug you back in. I'll be right back. So we started at 8 minutes here. So this is what we're going to get at 8 minutes. Oh, not looking too bad. There's the bottle shot. Let's split this open and take a look, see. Oh yeah, I want to see more of the bottle though. I'll show this to you if I can. The only reason I don't like these 50-50s, that looks good. I'm going to take that one out. The only reason I don't like these 50-50s is it's really hard to do this with them. If I have a 70-30 split, both of them, 8 minutes, they'll look great for both of them. Let's pull them out. Whoop. So there's our 1.5-year-old or 1 and 3 month old Collodio-Chloride paper with quite a dense negative. Let me show you that. I got to get some of the stuff out of the way or I won't be able to do this. So let's do this side to this side. So there you go. That is, and I believe, we'll check on this, but I believe this is Hannah Mule's paper. So I feel good about that. We'll go in and wash that. Let me rack my negative again here so I don't destroy it if I want to print that again. Not that it's anything super special, but. And then we have this one. And again, I told you, this is a much thinner, right? On our newer paper, which I overprinted, which is just fine. All right, so there are the two negatives. Let me rack that one again. And what I mean by racking them, I mean that I'm putting them back in the rack here, racking them. You don't want to lay them down. They get scratched, they get beat up, blah, blah, blah. So I'll put my contact printers back together. The backs go to the certain frames. So let's go in and wash these off. We'll have a chat about them. We'll fix them out, take a look at them, and see what we think. Pretty impressive though. Year and 3 months, Collodio-Chloride paper. Pretty impressive, right? I think it is. Let's 67%. I think we can make it. It'll be a few minutes in here washing them and doing all that, but we'll get them done quickly. Come on in. Transport you to the other side. So I'm going to set you up here in my dark room here. Yeah, you can see good. I talked a little bit about this, but I'll show you what I use here. I'm going to do 2 separate pans. I like glass bottom pans. And check this out. Rocks. That's right, rocks. I love rocks for my yard. I'm going to set that one over here and slide this one up and fill it up. Temperature of the water, you can stay cool, it's fine. So I'm going to put our old Collodio-Chloride paper in this one. And this is what I use the rocks for, to keep it kind of, it wants to float to the top, of course. And then put our other one in here. This will really give off some free silver there. Insoluble precipitate. Wow, look at it go. Just going crazy. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. I'll pull you over here so you can. Look at that. This will really get the water foggy. And there's our, what I have noticed about the older paper is it doesn't bleed off quite as much. But look at that one. That really goes. And we'll start to lighten up here just a little bit. Look at that. You can see that, right? That's an insoluble precipitate from the silver. Free silver all over the place on it. And here I have about a 10% sodium thiosulfate. It says 15%, but it's really around 10. You can go as much as you want, but wow, yeah. It looks perfect for that bottle shot. Boy, this is really giving the silver off here. You can see that milky. That's why I like the black bottom. Somebody was asking about darkroom trays or sinks. I like the plastic, black bottom plastic stuff, obviously. These are, I think I got them from Delta. Where did I get? Maybe I got them at Freestyle. I can't remember. I'll empty this out. I'll take the rocks out of this one. It's nice paper. I mean, I hope you can see that. Fill this back up. And again, you just want to wash these until you don't see any of that stuff coming off. The silver, free silver is coming off all around the edges. And boy, we're starting to curl up with the paper for sure. Yeah, we're almost done this one. I do love the, this has got a more purple tone, the older paper, and the type of paper that you print out on it absolutely makes a difference. I guess I should turn them around toward you guys, huh? Might make a better view, I don't know. Does it even matter? Can you even see it? I don't know. I would like to say you can, at least a little bit, see what's going on. I think we're almost washed, actually. We still have a tiny bit coming off of this one. So I'm going to fix these after I know they're cleared. And again, it shouldn't take too much. A couple, 3 pans, and you should be in the clear on that. Yeah. I am good to go, guys. I'm going to take my rocks out. I'm going to dump my water. Get my water out of here. And I like to put the rocks back in and put my fix on. Get my fix on. And I'll put the timer on too right before I pour it in. I'm gonna go 4 minutes on these, just a little less than 4 minutes. And here we go with the first color shift, right? We had a little bit in the first go round, just clearing the silver, and now we're really gonna get it going on here. So here's the first one. That one really lightened up. I'm more interested in this old paper, and again, when you tone these back down, I think I may tone this old paper just to see what it does. Maybe I'll tone both of them. I like the more warm color, if I can get it. I like the eggplant, the red, you know, and it does have a lot to do with paper too. So yeah, just be patient. Don't freak out about any big shifts as you, oh my God, what happened? Don't worry about it. Everything's good. But wow, a year and 3 months, a 15-month-old paper. I made this in January of 19. So almost, yeah, February 20, March 20. Yeah, so it's old. It is old paper. I have a stain on this one over here, but it's fine. I only use the fix once. Got another 1.5 minutes on here. I'm going to trim this one down. I'm going to tone this old paper just to see what it does, because I'm fascinated with it. A little bit in there. Let me dry my hands off. I got to get some gloves on. Oh yeah. A little bit of a shift there. Got a little bit lighter on this one. I'll show them to you out there where you can see it good. Got about a minute left. I can take my rocks out of here. I only use the sodium thiosulfate once. I'll put this in a pan of water over here. I got a pan right here. You can see a little bit maybe here. If I hold that up, you can see that. Gotta get it in water though here. I'll just keep it nice and flat. I got a whole bunch of rocks over here. And let it wash. There we go. That'll do it. Perfect. Go and dry my hands off, and then I'm going to let that run in there. My water is super, super cold. Yeah, 15 degrees, 16 degrees Celsius, around 60. There we go. Let that wash for a minute. I'm going to dry my hands off so I can tone it. I got to put some gloves on. I said that a minute ago, but I'm really going to dry them off and do it this time. And since this is just a tester, I'm going to use my used gold toner. Sorry, I got to dry my hands down. Nope, I don't have any gloves in here. Let me go grab a pair of gloves. Alright, here we go. My gloves slip on. I'm going to move that print over here and tone it up. Actually, I'm not going to use, sorry about that noise. I'm not going to use rocks on that one. So that's what we have so far. See what kind of changes we get in the toner here. Again, I'm going to use this, my used portion here, which is still perfectly fine. And if you want, which I'm going to do, I'm going to go over and just trim this off just a little bit. You don't need to use up all that toner on those edges. So if you're particular about it, just trim those things down because you don't need that. You just don't. I just kind of like the white border. If I can save that, I'm good to go. And I don't need anything extra around it. It's perfectly fine. This is a little white. I'm just interested in the image. So it ends up like that. So here we go, Toner. I'll put the clock on here in just a second. Once I get this saturated going. There we go. There we go. Wow, that really makes, right off the bat, you can, I'm going to do 2 minutes on it. Right off the bat, you can really see, I don't know, just there's a real crispness and a real, I don't know how to even describe it. You'd have to be here to see it, I guess. And hopefully the video quality is a little bit better today. Yeah, I love it. Looking good. Just keep that toner moving back and forth and lengthwise. I like to use my fingers with gloves to keep it pinned down. Sorry about the noise. I'll go over here. Looking good. Looking real good. Yeah, really old paper and just really performing well. I mean, at least I love that color. I mean, if you like the more cool colors, like the new print we've got over there in the wash right now, you tone that down and that'll go definitely into a cool color, like you saw Saturday or whenever we did those. I think I'm almost there. I'm not gonna, and then I'll dry it down, we'll take it out and we'll take a look at it and finish it up. I know I didn't wash it for extremely long amount of time, but since it's just kind of a test print and we just want to see what our paper does, see what the toner does on it. I didn't even plan on toning these, but this does give a nice kind of finish to it. Beautiful. Yep, there we go. That's good enough for me. Let me just wash this off as that's washing. Actually, not really washing, but kind of rinsing. I always make sure the water's not really hot right off the bat. I'm going to put my gold tone back in my used jar here. There we go. Yeah, I love the color of it. Oh, that's gorgeous. I'll get in a good light out there. We can see it in good daylight. I'm going to squeegee this off. Rinsed off pretty good. I'm going to squeegee this off. I'll flip you around here. Try to not get my laptop destroyed here. And go squeegee it off over here. Just to get the initial. This is just a sheet of glass. I'm going to squeegee. Oh yeah. Use a hair dryer. So I can at least get the surface dry a little bit to show you. Because it will have a little density shift. Oh my god, yeah, that looks great. Okay, that'll do it. That'll do it. I'm taking the gloves off. And we'll go out and look at it, but terrible lighting here. Let's go look at it in good light. So there it is. I'm going to go dark for just a second. Here we go. Into the light. All right, and we have 45% on the battery still left, so that's good. Wow, let's take a look at this. This looks, love that effect. So maybe you do want to have really old paper and try some very interesting stuff with it. You might find it that you like it. So here we go. I hope that's good high quality, high resolution on that video so you can see this. I don't know exactly where the focus is, but that worked out really well. Again, here's the negative and there's the print. See the density of the negative there? It's quite, let's flip you over. It's quite dense. And we do have a little bit of, it's not quite that purple, but it is a nice eggplant color. And I love the texture of the paper. Again, I think that's the Fine Art Burrita, if I'm not mistaken, from Hahnemühle. Looks really good. So, the moral of the story is that Collodio-Chloride paper can last a very long time. You might not have as brilliant whites as you would get with brand new paper, but then again, some papers, you know, it depends on your I don't know. I think those are pretty snappy here in real life. They're, you know, over here on this side, they're pretty snappy. The densest part, the negative's a little beat up. You can see in the spoons there, but it's fine. So if you can do that with 14, 15-month-old paper, Collodio-Chloride paper, you know it'll last 3 weeks, a month, or 6 months. And again, the only caveat there is have it in some well-stored temperature and humidity regulated environment, because heat and high humidity you won't have that survive. It just won't in those kinds of environments. So was this the best environment to store the paper in? Probably not. I mean, I had fluctuating temperatures over last summer. Humidity doesn't change that much, but you know, at the end of the day, to answer the question, old Collodio-Chloride paper works. So don't freak out if you pour paper and it becomes a little discolored, or you haven't printed on it for 2 or 3 weeks, don't worry about that. So that's it for me. I just wanted to show you that, give you an idea. I'll finish that other print. I'm going to let that wash for a little bit. We'll finish that other print later, and we'll try to catch you on Sunday at 10 o'clock, and we'll do the chemistry, storage, and handling review. And thanks for joining me. And remember, if you're interested in this, I got to pitch my book here. If you're interested in this, make sure you go grab a copy of my chemical pictures book. It's all in here. For all the Collodio-Chloride, making the emulsion, everything. www.studioq.com. Click on that front image. You'll go right into it. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you Sunday. Ciao.